Well, actually, we have two.
Well, your
You
kid's
have
okay.
11.
I'm
My
not
kid's
okay.
okay.
But
Yeah, I was saying he called and he said, I'm okay. And I'm like, okay, yeah, neat.
Right.
Me too. You know,
That's
and then he
terrifying.
explained to me, because it was way before I hit the, and they took,
Oh.
it took 15 minutes.
Like, I literally haven't seen anything about it.
All right, we're at 6:15, ladies and gentlemen.
Okay.
I will call to order the meeting at 6:15 PM. And I would entertain a motion to go into closed
I'll
session.
move that we go into closed session.
Howry,
I can second that.
Fisher.
Can you please state the reason for going into closed session?
Yes, I will do that. Let's see. Under, motion for closed session under Wisconsin State Statute 19.851C, considering employment, promotion, compensation, or performance evaluation data for any public employee over which the governmental body has jurisdiction. So, we will be discussing compensation plans for administrators, supervisors, and directors in the closed session.
And then we take a roll call, right? I think so.
Yes.
Okay.
So, roll call. Howry,
Yes.
Chapman,
Here.
Huey,
Here.
Fisher, Fessler, here. Okay, and we are in closed session at 6:16.
Are we moving, boss?
Yeah. Indeed.
That's the wrong one. I'll tell you.
All right, so we are continuing our
Bruce.
meeting
Yeah, Bruce is,
Open
And-
session.
at 7:20. Bruce?
yes.
Okay.
He'll be here very shortly. Oh yeah, I gotta get up. I don't know if I have your slideshow up. I think I do.
I'm not being rude, I'm gonna work from my phone.
Oh,
Okay.
Anybody else coming to the Eco Club thing?
I can't unfortunately.
Yes, I did rearrange, I'm gonna be here.
That's a really neat thing.
Yes,
I know,
I was
it's
very.
sad.
I have a super fun 3-hour sales and marketing meeting.
They're starting to do it year after year.
Yeah, no, that was it the third year? I really did want to have my work meeting.
Let's see. How long should we? Where would you do the jet? I don't know.
I can't say, but he should be here shortly.
Well, do we want to continue? And just note that he's currently absent? I'll give it
He should be right
This is a
here.
first.
Okay. Okay.
Have-
Well, I'll say that the meeting is continuing at 7:30.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, we could get into the, well, it's a consent agenda right at the start, but, I don't know. You're the boss.
I'm the boss.
Oh,
Okay.
Make sure to speak in the microphone, people.
What's that?
I was just
I
reminding us all
do
to speak in the microphone.
Yes, we all need to speak into the microphone. There he
There it is.
is.
All right,
No apologies needed. Okay,
all right.
so now, next on the agenda, we have our consent agenda items. Let me read this here. I'm definitely taking Craig's recommendation and going slow. On the, oh, that's why it's over here. Okay, here we go. On the consent agenda, it contains minutes from the May 5th school board meeting, general fund vouchers, and purchasing card transactions, professional and co-curricular staffing recommendations, the 2025-2026 professional staff salary schedule, 2025 and 26 support staff wage schedule, and 2025-26 district-wide support staff wage schedule. Does anyone want to pull any of those out to talk about before we?
No.
No? Okay. Then I would accept a motion to approve those.
I move to accept the consent agenda as presented.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
I
Aye. I almost forgot to vote. All right, motion passes 5-0.
You don't really know that because you didn't ask if there were any disagreeable.
You're right. Any,
No, who seconded that, by the way?
All opposed, all opposed.
all opposed? None. Okay, now the motion carries 5-0. Thank you for that. Okay. We also have some personnel items that where a vote is not necessary. Next is our public comments. Do we have anyone who registered?
Oh, all
Melanie has a
right.
I'm sorry, there is a person who has a
In
registration.
person, that's the easy way.
Should I time it?
Just,
Thank you.
you don't need to.
Are you good?
Good evening.
Here we,
Hello.
It's the old track coach and me.
All right.
yeah.
So before you begin, let me just read our public comments. Our public comments policy thing. So in accordance with School Board Policy 167.3, the McFarland School Board welcomes public comment during regular meetings from individuals who are present at the meeting, participating virtually, or have sent an email to the board president or superintendent. Participants are required to register to speak upon arriving at the meeting, provide their name, address, and any group affiliation before speaking. Address only topics within the legitimate jurisdiction of the board, and recognize that the board will not respond to comments during the meeting unless the item is on the published agenda. Limit their comments to under 5 minutes or 600 written words, and maintain decorum. All right, welcome. Will you state your name and address, I guess?
Thanks. My name is Emily Rodak. I'm a McFarland parent and community member. I just want to thank you for making the space for public comments. And I just have a few updates on the school funding front. And this is not polished, so I'm just going to kind of hop around a little bit. But with the legislature working on the new state budget, I wanted to say some things. Over the last several weeks, I've been attending state budget listening sessions, starting in McFarland with the one we had several weeks ago, with our Dane County representatives who, like so many of us, are deeply frustrated by the state's school funding model. I wanted to understand what these sessions are like in other places or in districts represented by lawmakers who don't support catching school funding up to inflation and don't want to fully fund even the services they themselves have mandated, like those in Act 20. So I traveled north to Watoma and Mayville and south to Beloit and to individual representatives' budget listening sessions, all of which have seen school referendums on their ballots in their communities. In fact, in Beloit, they failed twice on two big ones, the second of which included a referendum engagement group, information sessions, the works. And a lot of community engagement. They lost by 150 votes out of that 9,000. And what I heard in those places is pretty much the same thing we're hearing everywhere. The most powerful session I attended, though, was the final Joint Finance Committee budget listening session in Wausau on April 29th. All 16 members of the Joint Finance Committee were there at one long table at the front of the room, huge sort of convention hall. The room was electric. People were coming from all over the state to brought together by their referendum struggles and rose to speak for better school funding. It went from 10 a.m. to 5 p.m. and I had to leave at 4, but when I left, they were just calling up people who registered to speak at 7:50 a.m. And they were going to hear everybody, and they were accepting new registrations even when I was leaving. So I'm sure it was a long day. But really, the school funding, it was the most consistent, most passionate message of the day. And if we believe in representative government, the Joint Finance Committee must listen to such a unified public call. The Wisconsin Public Education Network, I want to give a plug to them. They were there too. Their insights have been critical throughout many communities' referendums, explaining how Wisconsin's school funding model is intentionally designed to push school funding onto local ballots. And referendums are not a sign of poor planning, just exactly what the legislature intended. They clarified a few things, and I think I'm not gonna get to all of them. But one thing I really want to emphasize is that we need to talk to our representatives. I know that not necessarily everybody, there's that many people who hear this, and you all know this, but I don't know if we're all really doing it. So even if we each can reach out to one, I think it would be really powerful, not just for us to do it, but to think of people in other places in the state. And that's the advice that I've heard a few times. And so I looked up, where are the Joint Finance Committee members from? Here we have it. If you know people and this is the area, right? These are kind of rough areas because districts are not just single towns. But if this sparks a region for you and somebody Beaver Dam, in fact, the co-chair of the Joint Finance Committee is from around there. Spring Green, Sauk County, Stevens Point, Green Bay, River Falls, just just west of Eau Claire. Also, Waukesha, Superior, Oak Creek, the Oak Creek part of Milwaukee County, and of course Milwaukee County. Madison is represented, Kenosha is represented, Green Lake, north central Wisconsin, between Eau Claire and Wausau. They especially need to hear from us. And finally, with just 3 short or long weeks left in the school year and Staff Appreciation Week behind us, I just want to close by thanking our staff and administration. We love showing our gratitude, but we also know that 1 week of notes and goodies can't measure up to the work you do all year long. We see the challenges you face, the long hours, the care you give, the support you need and too often don't receive. We don't say it enough. We see you. We appreciate you more than words can express. Thanks.
Thank you, Melanie.
Thanks, Melanie.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. We do love public comment, so come see us more often, folks. Okay, on to some informational and reports. McFarland High School student report. Maybe we missed our
I think we might have missed them.
Yes,
I
might
think
have.
my guess is
with our-
they joined us earlier, and we're not sure why we weren't there.
Yes.
So,
Thanks for showing up, because sorry we missed you.
yeah.
Okay, so then we're on to informational items. The family handbooks for 25-26.
Yes, so I will give an overview for you, and then if you have questions, I'll invite you to direct those to. We're fortunate to have Mr. Jondo and Ms. Shamer, who are joining us virtually this evening.
Thank you.
But I'll just give you a kind of quick overview on some of the changes, what this team did, and I really appreciate their amazing work, really looking at attention to detail and how we can improve the family handbook to better meet our student and family needs. So the first change that you'll see there is just, updating a part where talking about behavior and that this plan has been fully implemented, and so it's just more of a technical correction, I would say, in that issue. The area of the dress code reflects court cases and law about what schools can and can't do. There's been laws about, students wearing clothing displaying weapons or different messages on clothing, and when schools can prohibit that form of dress as a form of speech and when they can't. And so these changes just reflect those limits and when they can and can't. And things like, speech is protected unless it causes a substantial disruption to the educational environment. Also talking about schools can't decide to prohibit some speech based on a viewpoint and others not. Like you couldn't say, well, you can wear this political party's clothing, but not that political party's clothing, right? You have to say no political party's clothing, which you can't do unless it causes severe disruption. Moving on to fees, this is also largely a technical correction, just talking about, the first part is just about the schedule. It used to be on September 30th, but now we use that on floating dates depending upon how they may fall. Unpaid fees, just saying that they don't get carried over, because what ends up happening is that everything just accumulates and then you get to be a senior. And then also took out that students can participate in athletic competitions. Now, what you're missing from this whole fee section is all of the work that's going on behind the scenes to work with families, to develop plans, find ways that people can pay the fees. Health services, largely technical changes. Actually, this vision screening is actually just outdated. We've been doing it in second grade for years, and for some reason it still said first grade. Added some section about injuries at school and some language about additional health insurance, and changed some language about prescription medication. Safety, a technical correction, really, the new system is called Visitor Aware. Updated a few policies and updated the section on hate speech. That was really just streamlining that. A lot of that was developed years ago, and just language changes and the need for education changes, in this case less, because families and kids know more. When you get into individual changes, they're pretty minimal. You'll see some, across the handbook, some attendance language changes. Our associate principal team has done a really excellent job, including with collaboration with Lauren Arango and Angie Brunette in terms of attendance policies, practices, and wanting to update that language in the handbook, including tardiness. Some language changes about, consequences, things for transportation, some more gender inclusive language, and you'll see similar things there at Wabisa. The middle school, you'll see in the middle and the high school updating academic honesty, including AI, and had the question, Meredith had reached out to me today to ask me about Wabisa and whether that could be added to Wabisa. I checked in with them and they said at this point, it's not an issue for them, but they're willing to kind of reassess as the year goes on. So I hope I didn't jinx them. So food service, just talking about the unpaid meals policy and how that works. So just some clarification in language. Same thing with locker policy, just updating to reflect that the lockers are optional at the middle school. Change the time there for off and away, and then visitor aware again, you'll see. Similarly, in the high school, pretty much the same things, some course changes, things to reflect that, and then they updated their work release, senior release policy that you'll see in there, and then the parking thing, which you may have heard about, that has changed there and how parking is ordered. So those are the changes. What questions do you as a board have? This isn't an action item, it's an informational item, but you're welcome to ask questions on the informational item to us and our outstanding APs who are giving up part of their evening to join us.
Well, I wanted to show appreciation for the for all of the hard work. But specifically, I loved that the additional health insurance resource is now just linked into I think that's in the district handbook, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm looking at it right here.
Yeah, that's just automatically there. I'm sure it's a resource that they hadn't handed out, as needed, but now it's just there for anyone who wants it. So that's great. Thank you. Anyone else have comments?
Just thank you for all your work.
Yeah, great job.
This is really difficult, and I don't know how you do it, frankly, but great work, guys.
Yeah.
Fantastic.
It's a lot. It made it really digestible for some of us who have read them last year, and then to know what the changes are and easily identify that makes it helpful. So thank you for that. And I, just at the high school, I appreciate the extra, the clarity around the work release policy, because I think there's a lot of things that can go on there, and a lot of things around those types of things have tightened up at the high school specifically, so.
You and I have had great conversations about that.
Yes, we've had a lot of good conversations.
So, yes, thank you both and for being the representatives here tonight. Anyone else have anything else?
Thank you very much.
I appreciate you staying dressed up. You stayed dressed up.
Yeah.
And please go enjoy your evening.
I think they have shorts on.
I was
No,
gonna
it's cold.
say,
It's
or-
cold out. Sweatpants, maybe
pre-J.
joggers.
Pre-J?
Staying dressed was the hardest part, I will say.
I'm heading over to the orchestra concert here at the PAC, so I just want to make
Oh,
sure I
that's
was here.
right. Yeah.
Yeah.
been waiting for us in closed
Thanks so
session
much.
too.
Thank you.
Middle
Thanks
school.
for your support. We appreciate
Middle
it.
school.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Thank you
Have a
both.
great night.
Thank you.
Night.
Bye.
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 Middle school.
All right. Darn it, sir, we're back to you.
What an opportunity.
Staff survey results.
Yeah, so so this is the last, of the slideshows for you of the survey results. So I will go through this fairly quickly, probably, faster than the public can handle. But this is really meant for the board, an informational item for the board, and you have received this report in advance. So I'll go through some of the highlights. This is our third year of doing this annual report. We had a 56% participation rate, which is considered high, but not high enough in my opinion. But we'd like to keep increasing that. You can see pretty representative of staff population in terms of the people that filled it out. You'd expect the high school to have the most people filling it out because they have the most staff. You can see here, this is also fairly representative of our staff. The majority of our staff have been here more than 10 years. As I mentioned, this is our third year. I would urge you to continue to focus on the percent that agree and strongly disagree. There are comparisons there, but a couple percentage points can make a big difference in your comparison. So just be cautious about over-interpreting them. I like to say the ones where we perform really well in comparisons are accurate. But sometimes they're lower. Sometimes you see a 95% strongly agree, and you think, how can that be so low of a comparison? So just keep that in mind. It doesn't include the standard deviation for those of you that like to talk like that. There are differences across buildings. Buildings do their own analysis, a separate analysis of that with their building leadership teams. So one of the things I'm added this slide in this presentation this time because I want to point out that when there's so much data here, it's really overwhelming. And we go through all of it as an administrative team and use it to guide our planning. However, our staff are telling us that some things are more important than others. And when they talk about job satisfaction, you'll see a slide coming up. These are the three most important things to them in order: meaningful work, compensation, salary, and healthy culture and working conditions. So sometimes you can get lost in an item that's way down the list. Improving that isn't going to so much improve job satisfaction. So these are the areas you want to focus. If you look at some of our strengths and areas for growth, I put this together intentionally, noting that some things are on both columns.
How interesting.
Isn't that interesting? So some people see discipline and behavior as a real strength and see improvement, and some people see it as an area of growth. Communication continues to be strong, relationships, many comments about the strength of the administration and leadership, also that was in the growth area. Safety being a real strength consistently, meeting student needs being a strength, technology and supplies, and then supportive and engaged community. Reminder, last time we had just failed a referendum. So people are feeling a lot more positive about the staff and community support, or the community engagement and support. Growth, pay is the top one. Comes up over and over, as well as workload. Kind of, we feel we deserve to be paid more, and you're asking more of us.
I think that's been that way for a time.
I would say it was more exaggerated this time, and I think
It was more exaggerated this year?
this year.
Okay.
Yeah, definitely this year.
I think that's what
Definitely this year.
yesterday to the referendum.
I'm sure.
We didn't take the high, we didn't take the low, we went in the middle, and I
Well,
think some people are,
You just approved something higher, but that was before
but it was also,
they did the survey before.
Right.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah. I think Bruce makes a good point. That at the time that they took this survey, we were looking at that middle, whatever we called it,
Yeah.
option
Tier.
two,
Option
or
two.
something.
The middle, yeah.
Feedback recognition and meeting student needs, you see that in both columns, by the way. feedback recognition for performance, just a growth in the area of just overall satisfaction and professional development. So here's that slide I was mentioning about the top three. You can see how much higher they are than the next ones coming down. So that's my, my comments. Go ahead.
I'm totally gonna interrupt you. So if you go back one slide and you see growth as professional development and then go forward, it's interesting to me that the most important, that's at the very bottom.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Right, so that
Just-
gives
it's-
you,
Yeah, like it's, you have to be careful when you're looking at the data that you're looking at it holistically and not
Yes.
each specific, yeah.
because you could try to spend a lot of time improving an area that doesn't really,
Doesn't really move the needle.
Yep.
No.
Yeah.
Agreed.
So strengths, I'm not going to read all of these to you, but I think it's important to know that communication continues to be a strength. And I think our administrative team really feels like that was across 3 surveys. There's some tweaks to communication, but we're in a pretty good spot overall, getting things to people that is timely, important, valuable to them. Relationships, people really feel connected with their coworkers and real a theme in their comments as well. Having access to the technology and supplies that they need, a real strength compared to other districts and internally. You see these 90%. So our technology team and our the supplies that are getting provided through our building budgets effectively. A lot of people feeling we're really meeting student needs, that staff do a great job educating students, and I would agree to that. They have training and support to work with people of different backgrounds, and a lot of themes about the district's commitment to student well-being and commitment to equity and just the high-quality caring staff. And you saw that echoed through the student and parent surveys as well. People feeling safe at work, this is a statistics we take great pride in, 95% reporting that. Certainly would love to see 100. I mentioned this earlier about a supportive and engaged community with a big jump there with 17% and also themes in there. Feeling that the administration is supportive was a real theme in the comments. Discipline, people feeling like we're headed in the right direction, improving behavior, but you'll see in growth still a ways to go. District headed in the right direction. You see a nice 11% increase there, 73rd comparison, and 89% strongly are agreeing that they're proud of the district. So recommending the district as a place of employment also increased, but it's something we'd like to see certainly higher. Top 5 scores, this just reiterates what I just shared. I highlighted the really high ones, the 96%, because I thought, wow, that's a big deal, and it looks cool on a slide. And then you can also see the percent change over to the side. So pretty stable, I would say, in those top 5, and it's hard to get much higher than 96%, to be honest.
And that was down.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's bizarre to me.
Yeah, and then you look at the comparison, the rankings by comparison, and again, we take that with a grain of salt. But I do think that the district seeks input from a broad group of staff members is a really 87%, a 2% increase, and a comparison of 93. It's a strong indicator. Comment summary, I won't go through all of these. I summarized all of these with the help of my friends at ChatGPT and did read all of them, as did the administrative team, but some themes there that I mentioned in the earlier comments, and feeling like the community's supporting us, the leadership team being really strong, that commitment to equity I mentioned earlier, collaboration and teamwork mentioned earlier, and now we're on to growth. So here's where you see pay and benefits with only 51% feeling the district pay practices are fair and a decrease of 3.95%. So that's a good reminder of what we were just saying earlier is the board just approved a larger compensation package than was initially planned and was planned at the time of this, largely through our health insurance savings, which were much, much better than we thought we were going to get. So that allowed us the flexibility to do that within our budget constraints.
Kudos to you, Jeff.
Yeah, there's a lot of negotiating going on. And you'll hear more about our budget shortly. Comments about that low pay of teachers relative to other districts. One of the challenges that we have is that our neighbors, who are nearly all of them larger, the ones we compare with are all larger, and trying to kind of keep up with these other districts and retain our staff is difficult. Workload is a huge issue, and it's a theme where when you ask staff what would really help, it's hard for people to get specific. So that is going to be a year-long analysis next year, is really breaking down. And one of the things is about clarifying what is something that you're expected to do and what is something that you feel like you're expected to do, but you're not really expected to do, and what is something that you expect yourself to do. So a lot of work there. Discipline behavior continues. Consistency, I think, is what people are looking at across staff. So reminding people of the common expectations and following those and giving them strategies to address those. I was talking with somebody about this earlier today, and the question came up is, would they have said this 20 years ago? Well, I can tell you that when I came here in this district 18 years ago, people thought that kids could have behaved better, and thought we could be more consistent as a staff.
Oh, yeah.
Is it getting worse? I don't know. I mean, I would say it always feels like whatever's happening now is getting worse, but it's certainly been an issue for a long time. I'm pleased that we are starting to show some growth. In our staff, or our student and family surveys, both showed growth in this area. So they're feeling the impact, and I think our staff aren't as much, and I think that may be because of more of a few students can take up a lot of time and create quite a disruption. So continuing to find ways to address.
When is the
address
survey
those.
done to? Is it March about?
Yeah, yep, it's done in April is when this one gets done. And,
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think that it reflects
Yeah,
partly
it's
the
not a
time
great
of
time
year.
of year.
It does.
So that's certainly, I don't want to minimize it, it's certainly an
No.
area of growth. Meeting student needs, and what you see is when you talk about social emotional needs and supporting the needs of all learners, that is an area that you'll see some questions and concerns. Still relatively high, but you want to see it, especially when you're talking about different cultural backgrounds and racial backgrounds. The other thing you see is some people will say staff are saying our expectations for kids are too high, and also some are saying they're too low.
Oh, yeah.
So there's that push and pull, and what it's probably, we're probably, at times, probably both are true, for certain students and certain age levels. People wanting more, feedback to improve their work and recognition. I do feel like when I think about the amount of recognition that our staff are getting now, it is certainly better than it was years ago, but there's work to be done yet there too, because they're kind of saying we feel underpaid and undervalued at times. So.
And we kind of heard that a little bit in the ERC meetings too.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. Employee Relations Committee. Yeah.
Mhm.
Satisfaction. This is a troubling statistic to me. About 82%, only 82%. Agreeing that most days they look forward to going to work, and to see that go down, that's just something to think about.
Some of that isn't a reflection just of our school, though. I think it's just in general
Could
about
be.
public education.
Could
I
be.
just think the teachers feel that they're not really appreciated by the general public.
Yep.
Yeah, that's true. I
That's-
mean,
that's
we
where
are the
I just-
Since about
24th,
2010.
Oh,
Yeah.
Yeah,
at
right.
least,
right?
yeah.
Well, and I think also, like, during the referendum, I think feedback.
Yeah.
Teachers received, it was like, oh, like, teachers want to be paid more, and so, like, if you go into an environment where you aren't feeling great just walking in the door, based on what, like, community
Yeah.
optics are, I think that plays a lot into it as well.
Yep. Yeah, and the national rhetoric,
Mm-hmm.
certainly.
Yeah.
I think it feels more concerning to me because it's the 24th comparison. I know we're not putting a ton of stock in that, but
Yeah.
it's not like it's 60%. Or,
Mhm.
like it's
Mhm.
not.
I agree.
That's a good point.
Like
I agree.
that's-
It's definitely something
That I
that's,
think lends to our school district issue,
Yes, you're right. You're
but
right.
if you take
Because I
the,
think all of your points are still, I agree with.
yeah, and if you take the pay, the workload, and the student behavior, I bet that would increase that score.
Mm-hmm.
Like if all of those things improved,
Yeah, right.
you know.
Yeah.
Relevant professional development, just some growth, and some people got very specific, which gives us some real feedback. A lot about hoping for some more differentiated professional development based on roles. Leadership, feeling valued, took a
Sorry, I
slight,
have a question about that.
yeah.
Do you think that's because our district has really been focusing on some really big district-wide
Yeah.
professional development? And as that becomes more baseline, is there gonna be more room for more tailored?
Yeah, I think we need to, because
Yeah.
there are people, you kind of try to provide a foundation to everybody, but different people need different things based on their roles. And so
Right.
that is definitely something they're asking for, like, okay, we got it
Yeah.
already.
Yeah.
And we used to do more of that, I think. And then the leadership, you see some decreases
Yeah, that
there,
was
which is
strange.
something to pay attention to. And kind of a mix of comments like amazing, that wonderful, and then others that are like, feel like we want to see them in our classrooms more. And I just think we keep putting more and more on everybody's plate, including our administrators, so it's difficult.
Did they specify in the comments why they want them to be in the classroom more? Is it more so they can get a better gauge of what's going on?
Yes.
Okay.
Yep. I do think that is, makes, to know that they understand what's happening. So the bottom 5 scores, and I think the percent change is a real important thing. When you look at that pay practices 1 in this slide, you can really see kind of is meant to jump out at you the way I highlighted it. Yes. And then by comparison percentiles, you'll see that as well. The comments, I addressed those, I think, a little bit earlier, but there's some more specific about, workload and administrative tasks. There's definitely, when I went through each of the comments, I've got a good list of, a few things we could start with.
One thing about comparisons is, and I don't think we bring it up enough, is that, yes, we're a lot smaller than most, so by comparison, we're gonna seem like way less. But then when you do the forward testing and the state mandated testing, we're more than competitive with all of them. I think we finished, second, third, or fourth is for the last many years.
Mhm.
So we compare very favorably with performance, academic performance. We're just not as big.
When I think that's what you'll see staff saying is, and it was something we talked about in the referendum, our teachers are doing more with less.
That's right.
And so, and at some point, I think that reaches that point where staff are saying, we're still doing more with less. So I think what you approved tonight is a good step in the right direction, compensation-wise.
That's such a good point, because we do live in a very expensive part of the state in
We
Dane
do.
County. And there's just no way of getting around, the bills are the same.
Also the fastest growing part of the state.
Yeah, for sure.
I always said I wish we could afford to pay our teachers what it costs to live in McFarland.
Right?
Yeah.
Yep.
Sure. That's
Because
our
as you
goal.
look at a lot of our teachers and our administrators, they don't live here, and it's just because it's so expensive to live here, you know?
And the irony of that is that it's because of our schools that many people want to come here and live.
Right,
You
yeah,
know?
yeah, that is, right?
Ugh.
Good point.
Yeah.
So, yeah, just some other things. I mean, I feel like I'm belaboring this a little bit.
No.
The index, and so those are a compilation of questions that come together. So you see these in relatively flat, with the exception of students being accepted, respected, and supported at school. And that mostly is due to the supported one, where you get back to that student needs one, that one. That's mostly, I think, where that one came from.
Which is interesting because students, if I'm remembering
Yeah.
correctly,
And parents.
and parents felt like there was an increase in this in their
They
surveys.
did. And they're
So
very
it's-
high to start with.
Yeah, so it's interesting to hear what our educators are
Mhm.
feeling about that.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Yeah, I'd like them both to be very high, but if I had
Right.
to pick one to be higher, that students and parents would feel,
Mm.
you know, because that's the student experience. If our students are reporting that, then
Mhm.
that's
Right,
a really good indicator.
Yeah.
right.
How likely are you to recommend this as a place of employment? Again, that's something we'd like to see increase.
Mhm.
Being proud of our district. I think that's pretty compelling, slide there.
Mhm.
And then item analysis, I'm not gonna go through all of these, because you've seen them all before, but you do see the work-life balance come out here, is one that I highlighted. Again, the work is reasonable, manageable. We keep asking more and more of our teachers. We expect more and more, and it's not just administration that expects more of them. It's the families expect more, their colleagues expect more, they expect more of themselves. Discipline practices coming up again. But we do a good job at educating our students, and I think that's very true.
Mhm.
You know, things you've heard before already. And then in the area of support, you can see these big jumps with feeling like we're headed in the right direction. We have parent-community support. Social emotional needs being met is, you know, at 60%, it's pretty stable. Of course, we have some responsibility for that, but not all responsibility for that. Just a reminder about that.
Were there any comments? I know when we went through the growth, like looking at some of these like specific questions, when it says like there are needs outstanding, were there more specific comments of ideas from staff on, let's say, for that being an example, just since we were on it, but like if the administration or the board or we did X, Y, Z, it would help fill my social and emotional needs. Like, did people have ideas for that? Because I think if we're not meeting the mark in some of these, and you're right, there is some responsibility outside of employment, but are there other ideas? I mean, I think that's where we get sometimes stuck of how do we show you the appreciation? How do we best tell you
Mm-hmm.
and show you both of those things? So it's not just lip service.
Mm-hmm.
Because I think everyone has ideas, but if the ideas aren't what you want or need,
Mm-hmm.
then we shouldn't be doing them.
Right.
Someone or a board in the past, all 16 years I've been on it, we've talked about that
Mm-hmm.
every single year. And, you know, I think one determination we made is that it's not necessarily money.
Yeah, right.
You know, it could be additional, although it's very difficult to do additional time off, you know, given
Yeah.
the nature of the beast. So that's nothing new. I mean, we've understood how important, appreciate.
Yeah.
I drove 3 cars around with teachers are my heroes in the back, and I lost my last one, so. But that's ongoing.
I will say, one thing I did in my professional life, like managing teams of people, I always did the breakdown of what's your love language?
Yes. Yeah,
To say,
exactly.
like,
Yeah.
okay, what's gonna make you feel best about what's going well for you, right?
Yeah.
And it was interesting, some people are like, I like gift cards, or some people are like, hey, just text me, I'm doing a good
Yes,
job, like
yeah.
something like that. It's so hard to find a balance of what's
Yeah.
gonna make someone feel good, you know?
So for our staff, the few comments that there were about that, for the most part, staff want people to check in with them.
Okay.
That's really what they want.
Yeah.
It's
Okay.
actually seems to be more one-to-one conversations of, hey, how you doing? Or I noticed you did this, like verbal acknowledgement.
They just wanna be
Um,
heard.
That's,
Yeah.
that's
Yeah.
exactly how I felt in all my years of teaching. That meant the most to me.
But it is becoming where pay is more relevant to people. It really is. It really is.
Okay.
Thank you.
Yeah.
You know, other things here in support, you know, we've kind of covered these areas a little bit where you get into some of the leadership things, feeling valued, by building administration, and of course, pay practices. This is always an interesting slide because it breaks it down on equal opportunities is the area of focus. And in that economic backgrounds has been a continued concern, and I think we probably, I feel like I said this last year too, and I don't know that we did. We need to drill down on that because I'm wondering what staff are thinking about
Like what that means to
for
them.
that. Like what opportunities are people of lower socioeconomic backgrounds not having access to? And kind of jump into that. Because we do a lot of things to try to make sure that everybody has access, but obviously that's missing the mark in some areas. And then racial and cultural backgrounds went down as well. And that is a very long, I apologize for the length, but.
No, it's good.
No,
other
it's good for us
That's
to see all this.
Questions and comments?
Thank you for sharing it.
Yeah.
Thank you for staff for completing it.
Yeah.
It's a good anonymous, if you will, way to hear your feedback. And it's what we need to do our work for you, so.
Yeah, and if you want to
Please
see
complete it next
more,
year.
there's a lot more. I mean, if you want to.
Could you send us the raw data from the survey with the comments and everything?
I can send you the
Yeah.
comments.
That'd be
I would love to read
I mean,
them.
in terms of the data, like those slides cover the numbers.
Okay, yeah,
But in
I
terms
would
of
just like to read the
comments, I
comments.
can-
Quality.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Yeah, I
same.
would, so the comments are 21 pages.
That's
Yep.
cool.
So just,
Know that.
sit-
Read them
sit
over
back-
morning coffee.
Sit
Yeah.
back,
There
yeah.
you go.
Yeah,
The
a
one
hot
thing, so
coffee.
I know that our participation rate was good, but I know that we talked about this, I don't know if you and I did or if we did at a school board meeting, but like, for all the surveys we send out, we're only reaching people who are like email checkers, right? So I
Yeah.
wonder if we did the same like text message reminder for staff, if we would get a even higher turnout.
Well, did you get any feedback as to why people weren't filling it out?
No,
Okay.
no, and I would guess it's time.
One more thing that they would have to do.
So
Right.
So I
the
feel.
best way to get staff to fill out a survey is to give them time to fill it out and say, we're all filling this out right now, fill it out right now.
Okay.
Yeah, right, that
I'm
makes sense.
Providing the time for you,
Yeah.
that's the best way to get it done.
And they would appreciate that, I
Yeah,
think.
Mhm.
yeah, for sure. Okay.
So is that something we as a board can suggest or strongly recommend for future years or future iterations?
And we've done it before. It's harder with support staff because
Yeah.
they're on
Yes.
different schedules.
That's true.
Like even if you did it during like.
Well, we
a
definitely
professional
can.
Development day,
That's right.
like your
Yeah,
first
that's exactly
15
what I
minutes
was
of
thinking,
PD,
yeah.
everyone's gonna fill out the survey.
Mhm.
And we'll alleviate, we'll take something off the agenda for that day, so you can fill out the survey.
Yeah.
Right.
Okay.
Yep.
Anyone else? All right. Next informational, joint village board, school board meeting, Fisher, Huey, Tarnitzer.
You want me to cover it?
I'd love that.
All right.
I'd love to listen to someone else.
So,
talk.
well, this is good. All right. And please interject,
Yeah,
both of you,
totally,
if
yeah.
there's things left out. We just started with an introduction of new members, and of course, Meredith was introduced, and that was kind of nice. And it was interesting with a new village president being there. And then really the main thing that we covered was just the update of this community park, the phase 2 of it. And it's on the far east side. It's gonna be out on Highway AB and kind of Siggelkow, though in between on that corner, there's some private residences. But that is gonna be the area they're talking about. And really what they're looking at is building, I think really soccer fields at this point, it was the main emphasis.
Quite a bunch of them, from what I understand.
Yeah,
Are they
well,
gonna
on
try
the,
to make, like, Red
on
and
the
Soccer
preliminary
Park, but in
drawings, they had
McFarland?
9,
Say that
Craig.
again.
They had 9, but I mean, I think that's still kind of up in the air, but anyway, it's also gonna have a shelter and a concession stand, or concession area, but there's also a meeting area, which I found really fascinating. So there's an area that you can actually go in and sit down and talk. And then it's also gonna have bathroom facilities, which is good. And it's got about over 200 parking areas, parking spaces.
When do they expect that to be?
Well, I'll kind of get to that. Just, it turns out there's also an overflow area, which is gonna be gravel, so that there's places where like buses could pull in and park.
Turn around.
And then one of the things that they were talking about was the idea of having a cross-country course, basically around the perimeter of that property. And some would go around what would be owned by the school district and some owned by the village. The whole project itself is estimated to be about 3.3 million, but they haven't really sent it out for the bids. And so I don't think there's any like time kind of factor in yet at this point. It was approved by the rec committee unanimously, and then that evening it went to the village board, and they also unanimously approved that it be further studied, and that's kind of where they've left it at this point.
That
And
facility's probably long overdue.
yeah, and it was really nice. I mean, it was wonderful, some of the feedback. Paul Ackley was there, Scott Fisher was there, there's the cross-country coach. And, I mean, we heard some various things, and I really had kind of kept out of it, as, you know, I've tried to kind of keep my hands off of cross-country and track. I don't want to get too involved. And I kept thinking, like, why is the village doing it? But then the more I thought about it, it is going to be a perimeter around it. And so it's a relatively inexpensive thing for them to do. It's going to be basically
Where do we
graded,
do
and it
our
has to
own
be,
meets now?
we don't.
We don't.
No, and I don't want to get off on the tangent here, because we got important stuff. But we try to point out some of the reasons it would be good to have that, because there are, the WIA is desperate to have cross-country courses. We just don't have them. And it's also an area that you could use for cross-country skiing, snowshoeing, bird watching, you know, just hiking. And so, anyway, it was interesting. And the village board, as I said, unanimously accepted it. And then the last part of the meeting was just about the Highway 51 construction and where we're going with that. So that's coming up, and of course, everyone's gonna be coming down to the south of us.
They're
when
gonna
it's done.
have the bridge where the locks are,
Yeah,
that's gonna be out for 7 months.
right. And that's gonna be the one they said is gonna be causing the most rerouting. That's gonna be interesting, creative rerouting, so,
Yeah,
I-
they'll close that Larson Beach to exchange
yeah.
first, and then it'll go open, and then it'll
Yeah,
be the
yeah.
bridge that closes. But
So-
kudos to, I don't know how he likes to be called, but Coach Scott Fisher and to Paul, thank you for speaking at that meeting as well as the village board meeting. You
Yeah.
guys did an expert job being advocates for your students and your professions, and creating that collaborative relationship with the village and the district. So thank you, and I'm kind of excited to see where the village board bidding process ends up, because I think that'll be more informative for us on use agreements with them and what the cost will be for the community. So good things to come.
Anything else on that? Thank you. Thanks, Bruce. That was great. All right. Okay, sorry, Mr. Tarnitzer. Back to you.
You're in the hot seat today.
WVA Board Retreat.
Yes, so
Update.
I was able to go to the spring board retreat for the Wisconsin Virtual Academies held in Green Bay. And a wonderful meeting, very productive day. A few of the highlights I wanted to share. A lot of it is just an overview of the current status of how things are going. And one of the things they're really proud about is improving their onboarding process, both making it more effective, making sure that the learning coaches, also often the parents, know what is expected of them, making sure that they do that in a quick way, but a thorough way, making sure kids are getting enrolled faster. This year, they entered over 5,000 applications for students. That's a lot of work.
That's a lot.
Reminder, we tend to keep our students in our brick and mortars, so we're not doing all 5,000. So their turnover is a lot. It's a lot of onboarding of people, including a lot of students with disabilities. So, you know, typical district is 12 to 14% typically is their student population with disabilities, and theirs is 29% this year. They currently are on track to have another reduction in the percent of students that are failing to participate.
Always good.
Yep, so working there, feeling good about that. Really seeing kids that are sticking with the virtual academies for their entire career. There's 4 graduating seniors who have been with the virtual academies since they were in kindergarten.
Wow,
Okay.
that's a big
Yeah,
deal.
so very excited about that. A lot of our focus was on insight, and kind of insight tends to take the kids that are most credit deficient, and that is one of the high schools, right? You have Insight, WEVA, and Destinations Career Academy.
Insight is kind of the last.
Yes.
Yeah,
For many of them.
Sorta, I think.
it is, and they're really feeling positive. They've got some plans moving forward to do some like quarter credit courses, some more short-term things, adjusting schedules, more flexible schedules to meet kids' needs. I'm excited about that. Destinations Career Academy continues to do really well. They have 6 career pathways, and students are really involved. They actually just participated this past week in, DCA has some senior capstone interviews, similar to our senior exit interviews, so was able to meet some kids. One actually is fairly local, and, well, 2 are local-ish, and 1 from Milwaukee, and hear about their stories. So, really neat program where kids leave ready for a career, and some going on to additional education. So, they are looking to expand their partnerships with businesses. So that was a lot of our conversation, was about expanding that. We always talk a little bit about, legislation, things that they're trying to do, like allowing kids to take the standardized assessments at home instead of, now they have to go into a testing center,
Right.
which isn't great. So it was good conversation, good meeting, good people, and looking forward to, the next time we get together.
And Aaron, if you don't mind, I'm gonna add, because Aaron and Dr. Cutler took time to meet with me, because I'm the ad hoc, the non-voting member, there's a 6-member 4 Lakes board. And it was really good. And I think because Angie's not here, I actually ran off, it's a history, but it also kind of gives an overview of it. And I know it would have been helpful for me. You guys are probably light years ahead of me, but I did run a copy for everybody. It's a 6 or 7 page. little
Yes,
doc-
please. Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I love handouts.
Yeah, well,
I do.
it's not here, but I think
Next
that's
time.
because Angie's not here. So hopefully we'll get that to you guys soon. But yeah, we did attend that board meeting, and that was fascinating. They basically went over salary, benefits, the same Neola policies that we had gone over about
Yep.
the Title IX changes because of, again, executive actions by President Biden and President Trump. And then it turns out, I'm not going there.
Close call
No,
there.
sorry.
Oh,
And then
Howry's
it turns
out.
out also, excuse me,
That was great.
no, it wasn't, but
Well,
that's all
I
right.
don't even know if that was on purpose or Freudian
No, it
sleep,
was-
but either way, it was great.
But it turns out that President Trump has changed that, and so we had to reflect that with the Neola comments, or the new rules. And then also, the whole change on the retention for 3rd graders, that's coming up, right? I believe if they don't, their reading scores have to be at a certain level, or they're gonna be retained, right?
They have to be,
Yeah, and-
in a
So
summer.
that, they changed that, so those are things that we had
Summer
gone through
program,
as well,
yeah.
and then they went
Yeah,
through
you guys are
prom.
way past that.
Yeah.
Yeah, we are, and I let them know that. And, and then they went over prom, and then the graduation is coming up on June 6th.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
What did they tell us for prom? 200?
Yeah, yeah,
that's
200
cool.
people?
yeah, they had some
Really?
pictures.
That's
of it.
fun.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right?
It was cool.
That's good.
Given that it's statewide, 5,000
Yeah, right,
kids
like
in
for,
the-
Where was
for
it
kids who
held?
go to school virtually? Like,
Oh, I should
That's
know,
awesome.
and I
Where
can't remember.
was it held? They told us. Somewhere in Madison.
It
Oh,
was-
fun. Okay.
Cool. Cool.
Yeah.
I think we have it on we have the information somewhere about the graduations, that Friday. Is anyone planning on attending any of them?
Well, I'm planning on attending, I don't know how many, there's
There's
4 of them that
3?
day.
Oh,
There's
4.
3.
There's 3, yeah.
Well, no, there's one that starts at noon, I believe, 12:30.
Yeah, so they are on the 6th. There is the Insight is first at noon, And Destinations Career Academy is at
2:30?
2:30, and then at 6 is WEVA.
Yeah,
So 3 ceremonies at
yeah, you're right.
Madison College.
Yeah, I'm thinking,
I'm hoping to go, but I'm
Yeah.
gonna at least plan to go to the evening one.
I unfortunately cannot go to the evening one.
So
Yeah, I will
I
be
hear
there.
they're great, okay.
Well,
Thank you for representing.
all seats, all
us.
shows.
and I will be there as well.
Yeah,
Thank you,
it'll be
Bruce.
good.
Alright,
It's a
Cool.
interesting thing.
Mhm.
It really makes it all
Tom
make
always spoke
sense.
so highly of it,
Yeah.
Yep,
so.
it makes it all make sense.
Mm-hmm, yep. All right. School safety written drill evaluation notification per statute. I think that's
Yeah, so you see
also
that
you.
there's 3 different incidents that are referenced in there. All are administrative holds. I believe they're all due to protect the privacy of a student in crisis.
There's I had one question about the one at MPS, the primary school. So it ended because the child ran out of the building. What is the procedure once a child runs out of the building?
That same question, I was like, what do you do?
I was like, whoa, what happens
Yeah,
then?
that's when we contact law enforcement
Got it.
and we do our best to follow the student.
And the parents
Right,
were there, I
okay.
believe. I
And
think
we
the-
contact the family
Yeah,
as well.
okay.
yeah.
Okay, got it. I mean, I figured there was something, but I just thought, since the report ends because they're,
Yeah,
Done with
right.
the
'cause
hold,
that
right,
part-
like-
Yeah, the hold was over, yes.
yeah.
In the
So-
biz, we call those elopers.
Oh, yeah,
Okay.
that's good.
In the biz.
That's great.
Mhm.
In the bin.
Is that a situation like at MPS where you would, well, like the SRO, would that SRO officer
Mm-hmm,
is the one we'd call the police? Is that who we,
mm-hmm,
okay,
if available.
That's
if
who.
available, yeah, okay, just curious, thank you.
Yep.
Okay. Cool. Anything else on that?
Not at all.
Okay.
One comment,
Mm-hmm.
going back to kind of what Melanie said in public comments, and needing to kind of refocus maybe a little bit on that interpersonal with teachers and staff. Holds are hard, and I think me sitting here reading those don't show the emotional hardship that can come with running those and participating in those, not only from a staff perspective, but from a family and student perspective. And I just was really impressed with the matter-of-fact, clear, respectful way that it seemed like those events were handled. So just thank you to the staff who were involved with that. Those aren't easy situations for anybody, and your hard work's appreciated. So-
Thank you.
True. Good
I
point.
love that, the fresh eyes of a new board member.
I
that-
know, I
you
know,
no,
it's so good.
because, right,
So
we do
good.
just see them,
Yes.
and I think what's great about the holds is just think they did not used to be there, and so you would have kids going out in the hall and seeing
Yeah.
one of their fellow students in crisis, and that's just not good for anybody.
No.
Yeah.
Right,
That's
right,
True,
right,
It's just not good for anybody.
yeah, yep,
agreed.
We learn
Thank you.
as we go along.
right.
Good.
Yeah.
All right. District
All
administrator's
right,
report.
yeah. So since we
back
met, since we met last time, we had a high school band concert. We had school nurses day. We had a 7th and 8th grade band concert. We had prom. Prom was great. I
did.
heard wonderful things about prom. We had a high school choir concert, a middle school choir concert. We had this past weekend, Blues in the Night.
So good.
Yeah, always a great event. Speech and language pathologist day. Today was 7th grade community day. They start the day, they were reading to, I think, first graders. Our 7th grade students went over and read to first graders, and then they did stuff in the community. They picked up trash, they marked the storm drains, they helped clean the children's area at the library, they did weeding, they prepped plants, they cleaned monuments at the Legion, they cleaned items at the senior center. Just great stuff. So the 7th grade team works really hard to put that event together. And I had a report from a teacher today that said they did excellent and was really impressed, especially some kids who tend to struggle in the classroom. Get them out and moving, and they love to work and help.
Yeah, absolutely.
So it was great, as we were talking about casually earlier, we have our Eco Club here at the high school for this third straight year has won the Renew Our Schools Energy Challenge, getting a whopping $2,000 again for addressing our,
Roll, baby.
addressing our energy use, looking at electrical data, doing some audits.
We should
and
really talk to them
providing
about doing
tips.
like a longevity increase,
Yes.
you know, like,
Yeah.
and you hit 5 years, you get $3,000 or $4,000.
Right, like if we keep winning it, right, shouldn't we get something extra?
We hit
Um,
5.
Right.
Right?
Wanted to give a special shout out. May is a really tough time in a lot of ways, but one of the things is that we tend to be really short staff. And so a lot of staff are covering for other staff. Our business office here, Carrie Roberts especially, ESS with Sam Pruden doing a great job finding coverage. Our building administrative assistants putting together that coverage to make sure there's a teacher in every room. Schedules, it's very complicated, so just really appreciate the collaborative effort that makes sure that there are adults in front of our kids when our teachers aren't able to be here.
Do you reach a point where where there's so much covering for other people going on that it becomes detrimental in terms of missed, prep time and things
Oh,
like that?
100%.
Oh, it's awful. It's really hard. You lose your prep.
It happens.
It's great that we,
Yeah.
that we have a sub in every room
Yeah.
that needs one, but
But-
that's a
But guess what happens that
pretty
evening?
big circumstance.
That evening, you're making up for that.
Yeah, yeah, it's, they are compensated, for that time, but it's still, it's time in their day that they're not gonna get back. But, we're grateful for them for their work and the amazing subs that we do have
For sure.
through ESS. Just really want to thank the Employee Relations Committee and the staff for collaborating on the handbook and compensation changes that we've been talking about. It's a special place where people step up. Before I do the photos, just a reminder, a lot of great things coming up. We have the orchestra concerts tonight, grades 8 through 12. The 5th through 7th grade one is coming up on the 22nd. Senior exit interviews on the 23rd. Wabisa's Mix It Up at Lunch, where kids sit in different groups with high schoolers helping them. That's on the 23rd. Spartan Pride Assembly here at the high school that same day. We've got Memorial Day coming up. High school band concert next week. 6th grade band concert next week. We're back here for a school board meeting on the 2nd. On the 3rd, we're back here for a special board meeting where you get to talk about my performance. And then we have 8th grade recognition ceremony on the 4th. Ooh, I forgot to mention, this Wednesday, we have scholarship night. I don't know why that popped back in my head, but it did. The last day of school for students is the 5th, and we have the end of the year recognition celebration, which you're all, of course, invited to on the 6th at 8 o'clock here in the PAC. And that is also Hunger Awareness Day, and that is the day of the Wisconsin Virtual Academy's graduation. Our brick and mortar high school graduations on Sunday the 8th at 11 a.m., followed by Robert La Follette Day on the 14th and Juneteenth on the 19th. Now, I would like to share some pictures with you. And you see some great things going on across the districts here at MPS, swinging into summer, doing some, look at that beautiful gym. It's blinding. At this time of year, it's still sparkling.
I wish I could get my floors to be that shiny.
Yeah, having a blast there.
Broomstick and a tennis ball.
Yeah, there we
Cool.
go.
They still use them.
Also at MPS, some writing in first grade in Mrs. Froden's class. They're doing a book called Crazy Mixed Up Animals. But love the smiles, a lot of proud young authors. Here we're on to Wabisa, where they're eggs cited. I love all the eggs references here, doing the egg drop. That's one of the highlights of their time at Wabisa. This was really fun. I wish I would have been able to make it there, but you had a parent who came and shared her Korean culture and some cooking, and I just love the excitement in these pictures. Heard some great things about how that was, and teaching the students a great lesson on how to make something they had never made before. I just love this kind of stuff
Yeah.
where our community comes in and shares their expertise.
Now I want Korean food.
Yeah, right. Looks really good. There's, if you go on the
Learning
Facebook
session?
one, there's a lot of, there's a lot
Awesome.
of great pictures. We talked about Real World Day last time, so here's some pictures here I mentioned about the student getting their hair done during the presentation, so while they were talking.
That's cool.
And you can see Eva Radomski there. She had a great middle school principal there, so all of her success.
Who might that be?
Humble brag.
Yeah, right. Amazing talking about nursing and, yeah, so some great things going on there, and I think that was a dog border was the last one there.
That will attract attention.
Yeah, and then State Soul Ensemble had some many students perform in that and do very well, or that was a great event. Spartan headquarters doing a walking field trip to Dan Chin Home, so thanks to them for hosting them, learning about some marketing tips. The high school did some cooking out for Teacher Appreciation Week and some, took their stuff on a cart. A couple of buildings do that and get around to teachers. I know teachers really appreciated it, felt appreciated, so picked a nice day to grill out.
Yeah.
The a cappella groups performed at the vocal showcase here. We talked about that before, but here's
They are
Do we
incredible.
recognize
picture. Yeah,
that kid?
right.
They're incredible.
Baseline?
With the good hair.
Yeah, right there.
JD with the good hair.
Front and center.
He
Good
does.
stuff. Middle school People of Color Union group there at the Overture Center for a poetry slam. And how cool is that?
That's awesome.
That's awesome.
That was cool.
I mentioned School Nurses Day. We have such a great team of school nurses and nursing health assistants. And it's just something that has really gotten stronger and stronger in the district. We're very fortunate. And we have a lot of students with health needs, and they approach it with such care and expertise. I mentioned National Speech Pathologist Day, and we have a great crew they're spread pretty thin and cover a lot of kids across a lot of needs in a lot of buildings. Do a great job. That's all I have to share for now. Any recognitions the board has?
I don't have any recognitions, besides everyone's amazing. I do want to point out, you brought up the senior exit interview on Friday.
Yes.
On Thursday,
It's
they're
Thursday.
doing resume reviews. And I actually got an email from Penny that they're still looking for volunteers to do it.
Yeah.
So if anyone wants to do it, you can send me an email and I'll
The
forward it on.
22nd,
Okay.
23rd?
No, it is Thursday and Friday.
It is
This
Thursday,
Thursday?
Friday.
This
22nd,
Thursday,
23rd.
22nd and 23rd, yeah. So I know Megan and I are doing exit interviews on Friday.
Yep.
I'm doing it on Friday as well,
Okay,
Yeah.
great.
I'm looking forward to those.
Excellent.
I think. I know I'm doing it in the afternoon.
I have a couple. One is just really broad because I think it's a huge collaboration. But I feel like in the last 1 to 2 years, we've seen a lot of mixing of age groups in the students, like the high school, at the primary school.
Cross-age activities.
Thank you, I know what they call it in Montessori, but but yes, cross-age, whatever you just said. But I think it's so important and so great that kids are learning from each other, both, the big kids learn from the small kids and the, young kids learn from the big kids. And I think it's just really, really great. And I think the high school students are now allowed to volunteer at the summer school. And I think that's just really wonderful. And then regarding teacher appreciation, I wanted to thank the McFarland House Cafe for helping us appreciate our teachers from the school board. And to that end, we'll all coordinate with you. We have the amount that we're like at least 60 people who took advantage of it. So I
good.
hope they,
Good.
I know it's just a small thing, but we really appreciate all that they do and glad that some took advantage of it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I
Um,
did go 10 times, so there's 50 other, no. I'm
Okay,
just-
so just 50 then.
I'm just kidding.
But you know what? If that's what you wanted to do,
No,
that
I
was
did
your
not.
review.
I did not. Go it up.
And then the last thing I wanted to just call out, just our educators are so dedicated. Like, what, the first thing that they listed, you know, is meaningful work that means to them. And so they often do things in their own communities that is also education related. And I wanted to call out Wendy Pliska, Brian Ward, and Kelly Thompson. I believe they all participated in the G-Safe Celebration of Leadership.
This weekend.
And Wendy Pliska was actually awarded an award for the work that she does in her own community about advocating for the students in her town. So thank you for going above and beyond, not just for your own home districts, but, or your teaching districts, but your own home districts too. It's just, educators are so dedicated. So, yeah,
Well said.
thank you. Anything else? Okay. All right. Okay, I think we get to give you a break, Mr. Tonitzer.
Yes, I'm gonna be Vanna here,
Business
but-
managers report, Mr. Mahoney.
I mean, it does get to kind of set the agenda a little bit.
That's a fair point.
Yeah.
Well, happy 1 month later since the last time I talked about this topic, and I can just mainly kind of put on this first
Yep.
page, not much changed.
That's
No.
sweet.
Not much changed, so we're gonna roll through this a little bit. Really related to enrollment, is that this evening you'll be approving enrollments in and out of our district, and also for the virtual school. And again, just a reminder, we approve, we send letters, and we hope that they all will wanna come to us and then show up in September as well. So that is always a wonderful thing. No changes really to any of the staffing things that I had talked about a month ago. Revenue estimates, I'll get to that in a moment, and expense estimates, I'll get to that in a moment. We'll keep going along. Like to always remind people that our projected resident enrollment still has a downward trend. I have been noticing a few more homes going on the market in the McFarland area, so that's always positive to see, for whatever various reasons, so that's always great. I think I've shared that slide enough in my last 3 months. We talked about open enrollment. We are looking for it to have an impact, but we only had just about over 50% of the slots had applications. We know that we'll be sending letters out tomorrow with big smiley faces, hopefully. Come here. Our revenue situation. We went over this a couple times, but I think it bears needing just constantly reminding. We are entering year 2 of a 3-year recurring referendum. So year 2 of 3. So we're halfway through, and you know, as I do budgeting, we're already done with it in my mind. But you know, it's there for us, but it will be something we got to continue to work on. Hey, the state started a 2-year budget process. Melanie did a great job of explaining many components of that process and their listening sessions, which we really hopefully they listen, because they'll start deliberating on a few things here shortly. A reminder, we do have that declining enrollment, so right off the top for 24-25 is just about $310,000 coming off the top, because you receive exemptions when your enrollment is going down. So I mean, kudos to those that were the architects of revenue cap. At least that was put in there a few years back to allow people to help work through those areas. Chatted about open enrollment and its amount it provides us about $4,200 less than a resident student. However, that does help us continue to maintain our class sizes as best as possible. We do have some variable revenues, interest earnings, which, as we use fund balance, that unfortunately goes down. The interest earnings are starting to come down a little bit. But we'll see how that goes. We're gonna finish better than we had expected this year, so that will help decrease this year's expected deficit, which was just over $900,000 deficit. So that's gonna help bring that down. I think it'll bring it down probably by about $250,000, $300,000 less.
That's
That's a
wonderful.
big deal.
Yeah.
So
Agreed.
that's a wonderful thing. You've heard people talk about Ms. Roberts doing a wonderful job for doing a lot of things related to substitutes, but she is very instrumental on the timing of when we pay our bills and
Mhm.
also how we invest. And we do have a good business partner in One Community Bank. And they're actually really become everybody's go-to school districts across the community banker because they do very well.
Awesome.
for the school district, so.
Fantastic.
The virtual school, that's another variable amount that we could be looking at in next year or the following year. Maybe we can have a little bit higher of an estimate than I've been fairly cautious about. But, you know, a couple areas that will be some positives towards the end of this year. So, the expense side. We did start off with really kind of looking at overall 4.5% wage change, and originally budgeted 11% health insurance. Those are our two largest areas. We came in with a 2% for health insurance for 25-26 with some rate guarantees for those 3 years after, for a nice 8.9 max in those years. Hopefully our utilization can stay down and keep us down. But if we're just thinking about what did that do? Well, that was about 1.1 million less in costs in the first 2 years compared to where we had budgeted. We'll cover this in just a moment later on another slide, but I also just want to indicate that our bidding is in for property and casualty insurances, which is, you know, your home, your auto, your general liability, cyber insurance, those type of items. I have my meeting, I didn't plan it very well, it's later Friday afternoon. Coming weekend, but it's what worked for us to do it, so hopefully we're better than our 15% that we had estimated early on, but that's where it's been trending. So, some visuals, and these are gonna be really difficult now that I think about for you guys to see. So I'm gonna talk about those red numbers that are at the bottom. Let me just put it this way. For 25-26, we were looking at and had a planned deficit of $540,000. That's next year's deficit. The following year was gonna be $362,000. So we'll just talk about those 2 years. Our biennial budget years coming up, which we still don't know what the state is doing, so good or bad. So that's $900,000 of expense over the next, or deficit over the next 2 years. Those were planned. The referendum didn't cover everything. So if we flip to the next slide, which again, you guys are gonna, could have blown this up better. If we take those 2 years, and we applied our GHC to a 4.5% wage change average, instead of 11% and 4.5%. If you take those 2 years, we are now in the positive of about $50,000 to the good. When I just mentioned a slide ago that we were 1.1 million better off than where we would have been potentially with health insurance, that put us in a much better spot to do, next slide, Aaron. Upper right-hand corner says GHC 5.4%. What is 5.4%? That's closer to what we approved for wage changes for support staff and teachers in total cost. If you remember back to when we were doing deliberations for our what referendum we were gonna go for, we had option, whatever it was, but we felt like we couldn't go for that, so we had to do option B. And the goal, though, when we came back to the board, at that time, the board said, but if we're able to get closer to option A, which was trying to get into that 5% mark,
Yeah,
well, you did it.
yeah.
Now, it still leaves us with a deficit as we planned, but as I mentioned, it's better. So we are, looking closer over to those 2 years of 570,000 in total,
Instead of what it was
closer to 900.
900,000.
Right, so we're still better than where we were. We could have been better with just holding with the GHC, but our board also had a commitment to trying to do something for our staff that keeps plugging us closer to where we need to be competition-wise in Dane County. So we have our work cut out because 27, 28's around the corner. So we will continue to have to make decisions.
I don't envy you your job one bit, given the environment we're living in today. It's gonna be hard to predict more than 2 weeks ahead, let alone
Yeah.
2 years.
Let's hope the legislature does something in 2 weeks. That'd be like Christmas around here.
Well, there's a rumor about the special ed. I mean, I've heard, I think you were probably the first one that.
Yeah, they've had rumors. And they've
Yes.
Been not playing nice in the sand with those rumors lately, so.
No.
So our last page really does, all right, we pretty much know where our expenses are, but we gotta keep looking at our opportunities to make better, longer-term adjustments with the systems we have in place for us. Revenue's really in the hands of Joint Finance Committee and the governor, so we'll kind of keep, I mean, we've had years where they didn't finalize things until October.
Right.
It's happened. I don't think it's gonna happen that way this time. I'm hopeful July, September, something like that. And then beyond, you just gotta keep looking at what can we do to make it a longer process before we continue to need to ask our public to do the job of our legislature. Wait a minute, I think our public asked our legislature to do something,
Talk to your friends, people.
but that's right.
That's right.
And there,
Go back and listen to Melanie's list of municipalities.
Yes.
and I think Aaron or I, you had shared there's a link where you can provide written comment and feedback. It is very easy. So if anyone's listening who wants that, let us know. We'll give it to you. But it's very easy to provide that feedback if you're not one to pick up the phone or call. It goes to the entire committee. So that was an easy way in 10 minutes or less where you can make a difference.
And if you're nervous about what to say,
We have things.
we have things. ChatGPT is a wonderful resource as
Speak from your
well.
heart. That's,
Yeah.
And it literally takes like 2 minutes.
yeah.
Yep. Agree. Okay. Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks,
Thank you,
Jeff.
John.
Thank you.
All right. All right, next we have, move into our action items. We can actually take some action now. So action on 2025, 2026 process to select student representatives to the Board of Education. Want to give us any lead in there, Mr. Tarnitzer?
No, it's just an annual thing that you do, similar process to last year, where we have student reps come and present
Is
at
the-
the board when we're on time.
Is the Connect Club no longer doing it?
They do it in conjunction with
Okay.
student council, so,
That's what I was wondering if it was a change.
yeah, it's not,
But okay,
it's a
Gotcha.
yes and,
it's a yes and, okay,
Awesome.
great.
it's not a change.
All right. I would look for a motion.
I move to,
Go ahead.
okay, I move to approve the selection process for student representation at board meetings as presented by the high school administration.
I'll second. Trying to move this thing along.
I know, I appreciate it.
gonna try to.
Any discussion?
No, thank you.
No? Okay. All in favor? Please say aye.
Aye.
Okay. Any opposed? Okay, motion passes 5-0. Oh, I'm sorry, I forgot I had to vote.
Probably
Yeah.
oughta.
So there, that was late. My apologies. Okay. All right, next action item. Action on McFarland High School Start College Now program request.
Yep, so it's just an additional one that came through a little bit later and of a class approved for one of our students.
Mhm.
I'll move to approve the course approval, the Start College Now program request as recommended by the McFarland High School Student Services Department.
I can second.
I'm always a beat too late.
It's all you.
Oh,
I'll
I
second.
started- Okay.
Thank you, Megan.
Excellent.
Got you, boo.
Any questions or discussion?
I think the course was for Calc 2, so I just want to say to the student who's doing that, good luck. You are highly intelligent, don't forget it. That's all.
The hard class.
As someone who almost failed calculus in
As someone
college,
who
I
did,
totally
so
can
for
appreciate
real,
that.
You are amazing.
Here, I did not do well in calculus.
I don't even understand
Both
what a limit
times
is.
I took it. So, okay. All right, so no, not any more discussion? No? Okay, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? Any opposed? Okay, motion carries 5-0. Okay, we are moving right along here. Action on the 2024-2025 employee handbook.
25, 26.
Yeah.
Well, yeah,
Yeah, probably
that makes
those.
more sense.
Did I make a mistake there? I probably
That's
did.
okay, that's just what it says in the heading.
Cut and paste.
Yes, so,
Sorry.
you want- I
I-
just read this little part. Administration in conjunction with the Employees Relation Committee recommends approval of the revised 25-26 employee handbook.
Take it.
I am moved to approve the 2025-26 employee handbook as recommended by administration.
All right, Huey,
I'll second.
how, we got the H's on there. All right, any questions or comments?
I would just say for the public, in case you're watching, the changes to the handbook have been vetted with the entire staff, with our Employee Relations Committee, surveys. There's a lot of detail to some of these changes, but they're primarily technical. So I don't want the public to think that the board is not taking full consideration of these changes. They've been informed of these changes throughout.
That is true. I think even some of them were, I mean, I haven't been on the ERC committees for 2 rounds now, I think, and some of them we were talking about way back then. So.
Yeah,
so-
carryovers.
Yep, so, that's great to have that done. Okay, so we have a motion, we have a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, motion carries 5-0. Okay, action on recommended fee schedule. Administration recommends approval of the fee schedule as proposed.
I'll move to approve the 25-26 fee schedule as recommended by administration.
I'll second.
Got the H's again. All right, any discussion?
I just want to say, as we look through all of these fees, we are only seeing inflationary adjustments,
If any.
if any. And so I think kudos to the administration for understanding, that money is tight everywhere. And so just putting that inflationary increase is pretty fantastic of y'all.
Isn't it even just like, oh, yes, okay, so there's some at the end. But yeah,
Yeah, they're very
it's-
negligible, if any, for most of them.
Mhm.
Like-
I was impressed. I was going through it,
Yes.
I was expecting it to be more, so.
Like, as
thank
a,
you.
same.
as a parent of an athlete, I was expecting to have to pay more,
Yeah.
so, and a multi-sport athlete, so, yeah, great job.
Yep.
But another way of looking at that, and that's such a really good point you make, Megan, is just simply, it just means that the school, that is a way that they could keep, in a sense, their overall costs down by raising fees on the parents.
Yeah.
And we're
Right.
trying to say, look, we've got to try to make this public education as affordable as we can. So we're just, everything is just kind of like right by the skin of our teeth. as it
Mhm.
may be. So
Yep.
I am very proud of what we're doing.
Every single line item in
Yeah.
the fee schedule, if you will, like that's, each one of those items is fiscal responsibility for the district.
Yeah.
So
Mhm.
if we need
Yes.
examples of that, if you are looking for those, this is a really good example.
Thanks.
True, true. All right. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries 5-0. All right, action on 66.0301 Dane County New Teacher Project Shared Services Contract for the 2025-26 school year. The Dane County New Teacher Project is the parent organization of our McFarland New Teacher Mentoring Program. The district is a charter member and renews our agreement with them annually. Administration recommends approval of this shared services agreement. Anything?
I'll move to approve the 25-26 Dane County New Teacher Project Shared Services Contract as recommended by administration.
Okay,
I can second.
all right.
This
Any discussions or
is
thoughts?
money well spent.
Yes.
Mhm.
Absolutely
It is.
agree.
I mean, I think our mentor program takes a backseat to no one.
Mhm.
It's just a fantastic.
Mhm.
Yep.
Well, I think I think the feedback we get
Oh,
every year is that it contributes immensely to that meaningful work that they're doing and that's feeling supported and helps teachers, one, stay in the industry, and two, stay at McFarland, which is obviously what we hope for.
not every
Right.
district offers it.
Right, exactly. Okay, anything else to add? Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, hearing none, motion carries 5-0. Action on 2025-26 McFarland School District open enrollment applications.
I move to approve the students listed in the attached exhibit who requested attendance at the McFarland School District.
I'll second.
Okay, and just as a note, we do have to do two votes here. Okay. Okay, any discussion there?
One of the things I'll just note is that all of the students that apply for open enrollment are approved. However, some of them are approved only for the virtual school. Does that make sense?
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
So,
I was pleased, though, that it was less than what I thought it
Yeah.
might be.
Yeah,
I think it
so-
was- I think it was 8 or something like that.
yeah, I don't know what the,
Yeah.
oh, are you thinking of out? Is that what you're thinking
No, I
of?
was thinking gonna be in the WEVA.
There's
Oh.
more than 8.
Yeah, there's more than
I
eight,
can't
yeah.
remember. It was-
Not a ton, though. I
It
think
was
there's
Yeah.
More
12.
than I thought.
But
That
just
was
so you
my-
know, that's
Yeah.
why we don't, you'll see, so we accept all kids, so we just say, you are accepted into
Yeah.
our virtual school,
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Well, luckily, we
Got
get
it.
a small portion of that.
Yep.
but
Yeah.
it's not-
if they attend.
Yeah.
Most of them won't.
All right. Okay, all in favor, please say aye.
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 Any opposed? Motion carries.
I move to approve the students listed in the attached exhibit who requested attendance outside the McFarland School District.
Bless you.
Bless you.
I'll
That is
second.
not me seconding it.
Okay. Huey seconded it. That had too many letters in it, seconded. Okay, any discussion? These are for the kids transferring out. open enrollment.
Yes, and I would say, what are there, 15 of them?
Not many.
Not
I think
many.
that was the number last time.
Compared to a lot more in.
Yep, exactly. Okay, hearing none. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, motion carries 5-0. All right, action on 2025, 2026 WEVA 4K through 8, WEVA High School, Wisconsin DCA, and Insight School of Wisconsin open enrollment applications.
I move to approve the students listed in the attached exhibit who requested attendance at WEVA 4K through 8, WEVA High School, WIDCA, and ISWI.
Second?
Okay. Any discussion or notes to add? Okay, hearing none, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? All right, hearing none, motion carries.
I move to approve the denial of the students listed in the attached exhibit who requested attendance at WEVA 4K through 8, WEVA High School, Insight School of Wisconsin, and Destinations Career Academy.
I'll second.
Okay,
And Aaron, can you explain, is that just they're applying, but they haven't shown up in the last?
They previously, they were previously
Okay.
failure to participate.
That was
and now
my
they're-
question.
yep.
There's only 7, though.
Yes.
Mhm.
Yeah. And I know they work awfully hard to keep all those kids going,
Yeah.
so.
Mhm.
Okay. All right, so any other thoughts, discussion? Okay, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, hearing none, motion carries 5-0. Okay, so then action on the open enrollment reversal process.
I move to approve the district administrator or a designee to reverse open enrollment approval or denial decisions based on updated data related to expulsions, wait lists, and special education status.
I'll second.
All right, any thoughts, discussion?
I'm just making an assumption that I'll say it out loud, but I'm assuming this is just like standard process.
It would happen.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it gives us
I
that
figured, I just-
flexibility, like,
okay.
so we accept a student, let's say, for open enrollment, and then they're expelled in their current district,
Okay,
would be an example.
thank you for
Yep.
confirming.
All right, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Okay, motion carries 5-0. I think that does it.
That's it.
So I would entertain a motion to adjourn.
Motion to, I screwed up because everyone's looking at me. I move to adjourn our meeting this evening.
I second.
Yes. All right, meeting is adjourned.
did you
We
vote?
don't have to vote? Okay,
Yeah,
we
you do have to vote.
Sorry. Okay, any discussion? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? All right, motion carries. We are adjourned at
You did your
9:11.
first meeting. Yay.
9 minutes ahead of schedule.
9 minutes ahead of
Wow.
schedule, and we started
Even-
late.
Even with our closed session going over.
Yeah, that was impressive.
Yeah, part of
Wow.
it was other things that we moved faster.
That's true.
That's good.
That was good.
I appreciate that.
All right, so,
I have a question for you. The two school board